In late 1968, Glenn Bo Schembechler was named head football coach at the University of Michigan. His challenge: resurrect a once storied program that had won only a single Big Ten title in the previous 18 seasons to national prominence.
We must move the football early, block your regular adjustments, look the defense over, and blow off that line of scrimmage and get it done.
Few realize the potential that the Michigan Athletic Department saw in the former Miami of Ohio coach. One Detroit paper's headline read, "Bo who?" Schembechler was a Woody Hayes disciple and a former Buckeye assistant coach. And upon his arrival, he instantly changed the culture of Michigan football, beginning with his very first team meeting.
Bo Schembechler came into Ann Arbor. He was the Tasmanian devil. He came in with a whirlwind behind him, and I think I speak for just about everybody on our team. We were a little taken back by the, what should I call it? The aggressiveness, the focus, the intensity of Bo and his entire staff.
Schembechler was more field general than coach.
Well, get the ball out, Simba! Honest to God, you just run into two men!
Bo gets up there and right away throws a bucket of cold water on these guys. The lamb chops are gone. The mustaches are gone. The big fros are gone.
I had like those pork chop sideburns, and so I got done shaking his hand, and he went right to grab right of those and said, "Sideburn Charlie, huh?"
His first spring workouts were grueling physical and mental challenges, causing several players to quit the team before the start of fall practice.
We just went through a drill in the winter season that I'm sure has never been paralleled at any other college. It was jumping upstairs with guys on your back. It was rolling around and, it was wrestling miettes and running up on ropes, and it was crazy.
Oh no, they were leaving on a pretty regular basis. They were at least one a day, and sometimes multiple.
He posts a sign to keep guys around. Jerry Hanlon says, "Bo, we need something. We're losing too many guys." So the sign is, "Those who stay will be champions." The promise is, if you stick around and put up with all my crap, at the end of this, you will be champions. That is a hell of a promise.
A lofty promise indeed. Standing between Schembechler, Michigan, and a Big Ten championship was Bo's mentor, Woody Hayes, and the Ohio State Buckeyes. Hayes, defending national champions, boasted a roster full of All-Americas. Fullback Jim Otis and quarterback Rex Kern spearheaded the Buckeye offense, while safety Jack Tatum and defensive tackle Jim Stillwagon anchored a stingy Buckeye defense.
I firmly believe that the overall talent on the '69 team, as Woody has said time and time again, that '69 team was the best football team he ever had.
Not getting your yardage, and we're coming up 3rd and 5. We're lucky we got by that time. But you just get that first down and we'll get...
They were a tremendous football team. They accomplished things that we never did, and you have to give them credit for the football team that they were. They were one of the best college football teams ever assembled. Their talent level from top to bottom was better than ours. It was better than I think anybody in the country.
Shaped by Woody Hayes and his time at Ohio State, Schembechler knew the road to the Big Ten title would go through Columbus. In response, the new Wolverines coach molded the maize and blue into a mirror image of the scarlet and gray.
We were exactly like Ohio State. We were a mirror image of Ohio State. We ran the exact same defense that they ran. We ran the same offense they ran. I'm telling you right now, you could have taken any Michigan player and driven him down to Columbus and thrown him out on the practice field with Ohio State, and it probably would have taken him about 10 minutes to get acclimated.
And he said well after that, when I came to Michigan, I knew I had to compete with the best, and the best at that time was Ohio State. So we instituted the same offense, we instituted the same defense, and we were going to beat them doing what they do, but doing it better.
Bo Schembechler and the Michigan Wolverines opened the 1969 season with 4 straight home games. Vanderbilt was their first victim, a convincing 42-14 win for the Maize and Blue in front of only 70,000 fans at Michigan Stadium.
We pounded Vanderbilt pretty well. that gave us an indication that what we were doing was working.
Michigan thumped Washington 45-7 the following week in front of a half-empty Michigan Stadium. Schembechler's schemes were working on the field, but the Maize and Blue faithful weren't sold yet. The 2-0 start gave the Wolverine players the belief to commit to what Schembechler and the coaching staff were teaching.
And we beat them up pretty good. But I mean, we ran over them. We defensively, they couldn't do a thing. So we knew we had something going.
We still needed the proof to really believe in the work that we had put in. And I think coming out and playing that first game against Washington, was that proof.
You had to have success earlier so they believed in what you were doing. And the fact that we had good enough athletes here and the fact that they bought into what we were doing all fell into place.
Michigan's Big Ten opener offered the Wolverines a chance to redeem themselves, following their lopsided loss to Missouri when Heisman Trophy hopeful Mike Phipps and the 9th-ranked Purdue Boilermakers visited Michigan Stadium.
When you're a sophomore like I was and Mike Phipps comes walking into the Michigan Stadium, I mean, he's bigger than life.
The Michigan defense slowed down the Purdue attack, keeping Phipps under constant pressure. Purdue's Heisman contender threw 4 interceptions as the Wolverines stormed to a 31-20 win.
We had to bounce back off that Missouri loss, and we ended up beating Purdue at home. I went 31-20, but it was a big win for us.
2 things Michigan did that day. One, they just stopped the run almost completely. That was their specialty, of course, is run defense. Once you do that, you've got to pass it. And they had enough big guys flying around, chasing poor Phipps all day long. And by the way, a 1/4-inch AstroTurf on concrete. That could not have been fun for Phipps that day, I don't think.
The win moved Schembechler and the Wolverines to 3-1 on the season. Meanwhile, the 13th-ranked Michigan Wolverines traveled to East Lansing for their first road test of the season. Schembechler's roller coaster season continued as the favored Maize and Blue turned in a flat performance in losing to the Spartans 23-12.
The Michigan State game, I have no explanation for that. We were a vastly superior team to that Michigan State team that we lost to.
We were flat. We played a flat game and lost straight up there, and that was a tough one. That was a tough one to lose that year. That set us back.
The loss knocked Michigan to 3-2 and bounced them out of the top 20.
Now Bo is furious. If they lose one more game, his promise is gone, the bet's over with, and Bo is going ballistic on these guys.
We were at the proverbial fork in the road. It was either the way to get better, or we were going to implode. We were going to turn on each other and from a team standpoint, fall apart.
A 3-2 Michigan squad hoped a trip to Minnesota against the winless Golden Gophers could right the Maize and Blue ship. The Wolverines made the trip without some key starters who were disciplined by Schembechler for missing practice.
What he also said is, I don't care who you are, if you don't practice on Tuesday, you don't play Saturday.
We made sure that the team was the important thing, that you had to live by the rules of what the team did.
And we had to go up and play Minnesota, and we had some bumps and bruises. We didn't have a couple key players with us.
Michigan trailed the lowly Gophers at halftime, causing an unhappy Bo Schembechler to castigate his team in the locker room. Many consider his words that day to be a turning point in Michigan's season.
He came in and was pretty matter-of-fact about it. He said, look, guys, you and I both know that we're better than these guys. You and I both know that we should win this game handily. I don't know why we're screwing around out there not doing it, but if you go out and play the way you're capable of playing, we'll win this game handily.
And Michigan did. The Wolverines rallied to a 35-9 victory. The win brought the team closer together, forged momentum, and primed the Wolverines for a run through the remainder of their schedule.
It was a big turnaround, and Billy Taylor stepped in at running back and ran for like 150 yards, and Don Moorhead played well. And so all of a sudden now things are headed back in the right direction.
It was at that point in our season that we realized that we were a good team and we could be a great team.
Riding back on the plane, that's when we thought we had something going. I really do believe it. Coming home from the Minnesota game, everybody was really happy. Billy Taylor had a great second half. We ran the ball down their throats and beat a good team on their home ice.
Bo Schembechler's stern halftime words at Minnesota resonated with the Wolverines, who followed the come-from-behind win by blitzing both Wisconsin and Illinois.
Illinois down in Champaign, and it was a big rout.
Go down and beat Illinois soundly. You know, we're getting better, and I think we sensed that we were getting better, and our defense really started playing well.
The momentum kept building, and each game that we played after that Minnesota game, it was pointing to that Ohio State game.
As Buckeye fans made plans for Pasadena, Michigan was firing on all cylinders, overwhelming the Iowa Hawkeyes 51-6. Following the win, the Wolverines, rabid with enthusiasm, immersed themselves in preparation for the Buckeyes.
When we came in off that field into the locker room, we weren't celebrating a win over Iowa. We were literally tearing that place apart in anticipation of playing Ohio State.
You know, going into the locker room at Iowa was mayhem after the game. That was it. We could have played Ohio State after the Iowa game. We would have been ready. We were ready to play them then. We would have gone down, changed clothes, and gone back and played them. Because that locker room was pretty crazy at Iowa.
And we came off the field chanting, "We want Ohio State, bring on the Bucks." We hadn't even been 10 minutes the win over Iowa. And they were a pretty good team, as I recall. And we were already, bring on the guy next week.
Seeking any edge he could find, Bo Schembechler and his staff played a few mind games with the Wolverines in the week leading up to the clash with Ohio State, drawing heavily on the memories of Michigan's 50-14 blowout loss to the Buckeyes year before.
They put the red jerseys on the demo squad, and they put the 50 right here. Just the number 50 right there in the front. And so anytime you looked at a guy, you saw that there.
He put the number 50 on everybody's helmet, in everybody's locker, so that we would remember